Luz y Progreso, this is Sancista Brujo Luis. A lot of people have been asking me, how do I bless, charge, consecrate a medallion, a talisman? I've noticed that a lot of witches, they purchase spiritual or magical charms and they wear them right away. I don't believe in that. I like to bless, charge, consecrate, baptize my amulets. Right here you see that I'm going to bless and charge a tetragrammatron, and this is one of the most sacred symbols within brujeria. While the pentagram is used in like witchcraft, European witchcraft, Wicca, the tetragrammatron is very popular within Hispanic brujeria traditions. I have done many videos on blessing and charging and consecrating amulets. So here I am. I got the amulet from the box. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to light 5 candles to represent the elements: air, fire, water, earth, and spirit. All right. And so what I'm doing is, here's the matches that I'm going to use. You can read it if you want to. I like to use these black matches that my brother gave me. I have a whole bunch. And so I'm going to use these matches just to give light, to purify and baptize my medalla, my medallion, my protección, with the element of fire. So when I charge, bless, charge, consecrate an amulet, a talisman, I like to do it in stages. I never like to rush it, right? And I like to consecrate everything by the powers of earth, air, fire, water, spirit, sun and moon, land and sea. I like to use all the elements. Right here, you see that I'm giving it light to the talisman. I'm purifying it by the element of fire. I started this around 9 o'clock that night, and here the candles are almost done. It is around midnight, and so what I'm doing is I'm just giving it light during that energy of darkness to remove any negative vibrations. So in many traditions, such as Puerto Rican, Espiritismo, Santeria Afro-Cubana, talismans and amulets are often placed within a fuente espiritual, a spiritual fountain of purifying fluidos espirituales, or spiritual water that is charged and consecrated by an espiritista. We often do this so that an amulet or talisman, first of all, can get cleansed. We don't know who touched it prior to you getting it, but to purify it with the element of water. This is very popular in Puerto Rican Espiritismo. Now, many times the talisman or amulet is placed within a fuente espiritual or a copa espiritual, and it can be placed on an altar, on a mesa blanca, or many espiritistas like to place it on a windowsill where it will capture the energies of the full moon. The day that I did this, the night that I did this, was on August 1st. I think it was the first full moon of August. And many times they leave it overnight or until the espiritista sees, not always it happens, but you will see sometimes that the water will pick up burbujas espirituales, burbujas or spiritual bubbles. Now, many spiritual people associate these burbujas, these bubbles, with negative energy, and that is not always the case. First of all, energy is simply energy. It is neither negative or positive. It is just energy. So if this happens and you see las burbujas or the bubbles forming in the fuente espiritual, it is simply picking up vibrations from the medalla, from the medallion, from the charm that you placed within the fuente. The more bubbles you see, the more corrientes, the more spiritual currents or spiritual energy it's picking up from the medalla, and it's being stuck in the water, and it forms these bubbles. So the water's doing what it does by nature. It is cleansing, it is purifying. And in this case, it is absorbing just negative vibrations, or not always negative vibrations, But think about vibrations. You don't know who handled the necklace before you. Remember, there was someone who made the necklace, someone who sold the necklace, someone who shipped the necklace, or the medallion, or the talismans. It's been in many hands before it came to yours. So right there, that medallion or that charm has all those energies, And so before you wear a charm, before you use a charm, you have to purify it of all those vibrations from people that may have handled or touched that medallion before it got into your hands, into your possession. Often when the medallia or the medallion is given to you as a gift, a lot of spiritual people will wrongly say, well, that has absorbed some negative vibration, or the person that's giving it to you is giving to you con mala fe, with bad intentions. It could be the case, but it's not always the case, okay? Yes, it could, the medallion is picking up, let's say someone wishes you harm or bad and they give you something. Well, the amulet is absorbing that. Or it could be that the person who's giving it to you might have been in a bad mood. There's just so many factors. So we have to look deeper into it before going into conclusions. Not always will it create these burbujas. I don't want you to think it always does, but if it does, don't worry. The water's doing what it needs to do. It is trapping that vibration that you don't want into your medalla, and it's just trapping it in the water so that the medalla is purified and cleansed by the power of water. So since I purchased this tetragrammatron for myself, no one handled it well, except for the person who sold it to me. I know that it's just purifying. It's cleansing itself. It could be cleansing itself from positive ions or ions within the atmosphere. Okay, so please always cleanse your talismans, especially your metals. Crystals, be careful with crystals. Some crystals you cannot place in water, such as selenite. But this is just absorbing. It could be vibrations, it could be ions, it could be impressions that the amulet, the talisman, has absorbed into itself. After this, you can go on to the next process. Don't always assume this is negative. It's just absorbing. It's just cleansing and purifying. It's doing what it's supposed to do by nature. Often this is placed on a windowsill so it absorbs the energy of the full moon until the energies of the sun. And many espiritistas are finished here. Sometimes they'll pass smoke or whatever, but as long as it absorbs that energy of the full moon and the energy of the following sun, then the amulet should be charged and purified. The water after that can be thrown away, could be flushed down the toilet, and the talisman should be cleaned and dried before using it. So the following day, after I used the water, I brought the talisman by a tree that I like to meditate and pray. You don't have to do this. A lot of brujos, we do this. I like to bury it so that it receives the energies of Madre Tierra, Itiba, Kahubaba, Gaia, Pachamama. So I bury it in the ground, and I make sure I pat it down. I leave offerings to the earth spirit. And so what I'm doing here is I'm giving it that blessing, charging it by the power of the earth. I make sure that there's something that hangs out so that I can find it afterwards. You can leave it overnight if you want to. I left it overnight. The following day I came and I found it. Thankfully, it was in the same spot. If you don't live in an area where you can feel comfortable to leaving it outdoors, place it in a potted plant and leave it within the house by window and let it absorb for at least 24 hours. So as I've stated, I wanted to charge my talisman by all the elements, by all the energies. I was lucky that I got a rain. The Caribbean brought a good rainstorm with lightning. And I felt that lightning, of course you got to be careful. Please be cautious. But I brought a glass of water, just a glass, and I let it get filled with that thunder, lightning water that was brought by the hurricanes from the Caribbean. And so I placed the talisman within it to absorb those energies, those corrientes, so that it could be, it's giving it life, right? You do not have to do this process. I did it because, as I said earlier, I wanted to charge it. I wanted to cleanse it with all the elements. And I was not rushing this. This was not done in a one-day process. This was done during pretty much the whole month. I was charging and cleansing this talisman before I placed it on my body. I wanted to give it all the energies that I could to consecrate it. So there's a saying that says, to each brujo and bruja their magic. A cada bruja y brujo su magia. This means that every witch, brujo, bruja will have their own way of blessing, charging, and consecrating a talisman or an amulet. Just because you see me doing it this way doesn't mean that every brujo has to, and so you should not compare or tell people that they need to do it this way. Right here, I'm at the beach, and so I'm creating a medicine wheel, which represents the element of earth, the four directions, the four seasons. And so what I'm doing right here is I'm charging it with the energy or the element of Gran Solier, Padre Sol, the sun. And I like to pray over it. I like to let it absorb that heat, let it absorb that energy. And after that, I brought it into the ocean, since I was at the ocean or at the seashore. And I blessed it. I washed it with the powers of La Madre Estrella Maris, la diosa del mar, the goddess of the sea, Madre Yemaya, La Sirene, whatever name you give that spirit, that energy, that manifestation of the ocean mother. I'm asking her that since we come from her, that she gives life to this medalla. And so what I'm doing is I'm letting it pass by the energies of either 7 or 9 waves of water, making sure that I'm grasping that talisman very carefully, because the water can simply take it. All right. So if you do this, wrap it around your hands and hold on tight, because you can lose it. So after I did this, I believe in the act of sacred reciprocity. If I ask anything of the elements of the spirits in nature, I have to give to them. I just don't go into nature and expect them to do anything without us giving in return. So of course I gave a payment of coins, some sweet molasses, and some sweet 7 or 9 blue flowers. So finally we come to the night of August 31st of 2023. We were lucky in August of 2023 to have 2 super moons. And so on August 31st, we had the most magnificent super blue moon that I've ever seen. And so I said to myself, this is going to be a beautiful night for me to charge and consecrate my tetragrammatron with the energies and the powers of this beautiful super blue moon. So there are many ways that you can charge it with the energies of the full moon. I enjoy to be out on nights of the full moon, especially during the summer, spring, and fall months. The winter months are a little super cold in Massachusetts, so during those months, I take advantage of when I could be outside, not just to only charge amulets and talismans and whatever I can charge, but also as a brujo, I enjoy to recharge myself. So here I am. It was 12 o'clock at night, and I'm not that far from my house. And so what I did is I took the talisman and I just sat there and I prayed to La Madre Luna. to cleanse La Madre Luna, the Mother Moon, to cleanse and purify my talisman. Okay, if you do not feel comfortable sitting outside, okay, because maybe you live in a place where you might not be safe, then leave it in a windowsill or somewhere where it could absorb the energies of the full moon. The full moon, especially for your silver talismans and charms, is so important. Do not skip this part. So after the night of the full moon, everyone that knows me knows that I'm a vampire. I often stay up all night until the sun rises, and then I go to sleep. That morning, as the sun was rising, we had this amazing gust of wind. And so I dangled my tetragrammatron, my medallia, by a windowsill so I could receive that breath of life, that cleansing, purifying air. Now remember, to every brujo and bruja, to every witch, their magic is their own. Some brujos and some brujas will spray an amulet, a talisman, a resguardo. They will spray it down with rum. Some will spray it or smoke it down with tobacco. This is fine. Right here, I am using dragon's blood, which is an incense that I like to use to purify and to cleanse amulets. But you can use any. If you don't have dragon's blood, any resin, any incense, any smoke, it is the intention that you're giving. As long as you are praying during this process and you have faith, it's going to work for you. So in closing, on the night of Thursday, September 14, 2023, it was the night of a new moon. There was no moon in the sky. And this is when I had finished purifying and cleansing and charging and baptizing my talisman. So I'm going to begin again as I started with giving it light on this night of the new moon, this night of no moon. And again, I'm thanking all the spirits during this journey, the spirits of air, the spirits of fire, the spirits of water, the spirits of earth, the spirits of sun and moon and sea and the land, for giving me, allowing me to bless me with their energies in blessing and consecrating and charging this talisman. I hope you enjoyed this little process, and I hope you enjoyed this video. P.S. Before closing, I want to let people know, a lot of people ask me, do I constantly have to do all these? After you do this once, after you charge, bless, and consecrate your amulets, your talisman, that's the only time you have to do it, with the exception of periodically whenever you feel your necklace or your charm feels heavy, a lot of negative energy, maybe you want to recharge it with the element of the moon, maybe place it in some water to absorb any negative or unwanted vibrations, but you don't have to do all the process. What you want to do is make sure that you recharge it at least once a month. Do not let anyone handle this. This is a living, sacred amulet that should only be used by yourself. Keep it safe and do not let other people touch it. Lastly, pray. As you're doing all the procedures that I did, pray. You can use any prayer that you want from any sacred text, or you can pray from your heart, as long as you believe the words that you are saying and that it comes from your heart. You don't have to do this all the time. If it is a resguardo or a mojo bag, yes, once a month you want to pass it through some incense, give it some sacred oil, and maybe give it more energy of the full moon. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please share, please hit that like button, please leave those comments down below so that I know that you enjoyed this video and I know what to record. I hope you enjoyed. Sancista Brujo Luis, please share. Ciao.